York's classic rock, Q1043.
Good morning to Cindy Bellino. She is the owner and CEO of the Just Believe Recovery Centers in Florida and also in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, which is right outside Scranton in the beautiful Poconos. Cindy, I was shocked last week when I got a news alert that for the first time in a 12-month period, we lost 100,000 people to overdoses. You are probably not as shocked as I was.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure if that's accurate. It's funny you said that because you know how we do a lot of the overdose awareness in the country. I was just talking to some of my colleagues, and I says in New York City they have the big clock up there that shows the deficit of the country. I said if they really wanted to do a really good overdose awareness, they'd put a clock up there that people could actually watch and see how many people are actually dying daily in our country.
So how much worse do you think this is? Why do you think these figures are not exactly accurate?
It was just been my experience through the time I've been around in recovery. A lot of in 2007 and 6 up here in this area in Carbondale, we had a lot of people's deaths would be put under heart attack. And it got to the point where I talked to some of the local head authorities. I says, listen, if we're having that many people having heart attacks, maybe we should call Washington and have somebody come up here and figure out why, because it's impossible. You can't list everything under heart attacks. You have to start talking about what's going on in our country and the epidemic that's going on. And they didn't, that's way back in 2006 and 7. And they didn't like the word back then when I was using epidemic. But then when I had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Oz, and he was the first one that put out the first series on the epidemic and going on in America. And that's when everyone started coming out, the football players, the movie stars, and it took the stigma off a little bit. Thank you, God, for that coming out. But no, I don't think every one of them get categorized properly.
There was another story that at least a third of Americans have someone in their family that has had a drug addiction issue. A third.
That's wrong. I would.
Oh, you think it's higher?
I think that probably, I would think, I'm not going to tell you my exact number, I would think, which would be almost everybody in America knows somebody within their family unit or a friend that has someone and that's addicted to something. But I would say for sure, 70%.
Wow. Now, the 100,000 figure in a 12-month period that you think is lowball that we've lost to drug overdoses, is this because of fentanyl? Is this because of the pandemic and the shutdown? Or is it a combination? Because from what I understand, the fentanyl issue is getting worse and worse. People just don't know what they're getting when they're buying. And a lot of these people were addicted by their doctors to painkillers.
Yeah, that's true. Fentanyl is every drug that's out there, even marijuana is being tainted with fentanyl these days.
Even marijuana?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even marijuana. Yeah. It's a way to try to get people hooked on opiates, which is fentanyl and Suboxone. I think if we took a look at when we started using Suboxone as a antidote to recovery.
Suboxone is a drug that people use. It is a treatment to get them off their addiction, their drug addiction, correct?
No.
It's not a drug.
Suboxone is an opiate.
Okay.
It's to maintain.
Huh.
It's a maintenance drug. It's not to get them off of their addiction. It's to be able to maintain. So with that being said, I think if we go back and we'll see that when this became really popular, and then with the fentanyl also, the overdoses have come up in numbers way far than I believe they're reporting. The MAP programs are good for some people. They really are. We try to, we have a MAP program at Just Believe Recovery Center.
And explain what that is, the MAT program.
The MAP program is when you stay on an opiate just to maintain. It lessens your chances of overdosing, and hopefully gives people time to learn more about recovery and make a decision if they want to be totally abstinent free or stay on a maintenance program of opiate-based medication. We do not have a MAP program as far as using Suboxone goes. We do have shots that we give, the Vivitrol shots, which are amazing tool in recovery for people who decide they want to be totally abstinent, drug-free. When people come in, sometimes they're on a MAP program and they have to be detoxed off of other drugs that they're using. And then we have to bring them down to their MAP program dose in our detox. And then if they want to continue on after we detox the other medications from their system and just bring them down to a MAT dose, they can go back to their MAT program, which if that's what they choose to do, we make sure that that happens for them, you know, whether we get them to where they want to be, and it gives them, you know, at least they're alive. Okay, they're alive, and hopefully in the future they'll decide to wean themselves off of that, or with the help of their doctors will get weaned off of opiate-based medication treatment. And if not, they can come back to us, and we can you know, start from scratch and detox them and then get them on their journey to recovery that's totally drug-free.
I'm speaking with Cindy Bellino. She is the owner and CEO of the Just Believe Recovery Centers, both in Florida and in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Scranton in the Poconos. And one of the reasons why I wanted to invite Cindy on is because the Just Believe Recovery Center is actually now offering scholarships. And I want you to talk about this a little bit, Cindy, because that's kind of extraordinary and there's never been a bigger need.
Oh, our scholarships, we're really happy to do those, because this started back when we first opened up the first year in Pennsylvania, and there was a brother that was in our care, and he had another brother that was in bad shape, and I had told him to get him up here and we'll get him in free of cost, and that was right around this time of year. And then I had a couple people from Florida, our corporate office, we were up here in Carbondale, and because we were getting, you know, just starting up in Pennsylvania. So I came back to where they were staying, and that's when I announced to them, I said, okay, we're going to give out 20 scholarships fully paid. We're going to do detox, residential, and outpatient therapy. And they looked at me, they said, are you crazy? We can't afford that. I says, well, it's not a question if we can afford it. That's not what I'm talking about here. What we're talking about is saving lives, and there's people out there that have no means whatsoever to get help. And if we can do that, yeah, we have some people in there. We're going to put scholarship people in, and we're going to help people, and that's why I opened up a treatment center. So we started doing that back in 2000 when we opened. I think it was like 2000. Geez, we fought for so long to get it open. I forget the exact date, but we're open like 6 years. So I think this will be the fifth or the sixth season that we've been doing this. So we give out 20 scholarships between Florida centers and Pennsylvania centers, and they're full scholarship: detox, residential, PHP, outpatient. And you know, the one thing that I would like to get the word out about, if we're going to talk about this, is that every treatment center is able to do this. And I beg and plead, if we could all just, do this together, we could save so many lives, or give people the opportunities to save their lives just in this season, the Christmas, the holiday season. There's got to be, 20 different rehab centers and treatment centers within 100-mile radius of us. Could you imagine that you would be giving out over 20,000 scholarships? And
How do people, if somebody's listening and they need this help, or they know of someone, how do they get in touch with you?
well, I'll tell you, they can actually get onto the website, justbelieverecovery.com, and they will see a link on there that says the Gift of Life Scholarship, and there's an application to fill out. And we'll be choosing, we have one scholarship in already, and we'll be putting 3 more in Pennsylvania by the end of, I'm hoping by Thursday, to tell you the truth. I like to get them in for Thanksgiving, but we'll be putting in 3 here and 3 in Florida before the end of the month for sure, maybe even 5 in each state. But we have to go through the applications, and it's heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching because I want to take them all. It's hard to pick and choose, because so we do a lot of meetings. I do a lot of praying during this time, because it's just really hard to pick who's going to get the opportunity and who's not. So yeah, we're doing that right now. We'll be doing it again in December, and then again in January, till all 20 scholarships are given away.
In a perfect world, because I have heard that insurance generally only pays for 30 days inpatient, maybe it's more now. In a perfect world, how much time does the average person need inpatient to really get a handle on their addiction and not end up back again?
Well, the perfect world we'll never get, but we can make things a lot better as far as the time they get to spend inside of a treatment facility, a good treatment facility that is actually, catering to the needs individually for each and every person is different, and they need different type of treatment. So I would say your detox, of course, they are getting better with that. They will allow them to stay up to 10 days if they're going back to a MAT program, so we can get them to the level. They should do the 30 days of residential for sure. The one thing they are missing in Pennsylvania that they have down in Florida is called a PHP with community housing. Now, they don't pay for the housing, but it's just a license that you house them. It's like an extended residential program. So it's a license that states that PHP with community housing. They don't work. They don't go job hunting. They're not ready for that. So they can stay there up to 30, 60, 90 days more at that level of care, and they need it. And then from there, they should go to a halfway house. At a halfway house, it's really structured. And if they stayed there for another 3 months would be wonderful. And then from there, they should go to a safe house or a halfway house, as they call them. And if they can put a whole year in staying connected to their treatment and being inside of housing that everyone's working toward the same result, which is being able to be part of society, drug and alcohol free, feeling good about themselves, realizing that, they're great people. They're it's just like all the people we know right now that are great people that aren't using drugs and alcohol. If they picked up drugs and alcohol, that does not make them not a great person. What it makes them is a sick person with a bad disease and mind altering decisions they'll start making, which makes them look like bad people.
We are out of time. I just want to reiterate, if you know of someone who cannot afford or does not have the insurance and needs inpatient drug rehab, it's justbelieve.com.
JustBelieveRecovery.com.
Justbelieverecovery.com. Justbelieverecovery.com for the gift of life this holiday season. No bigger gift. Thank you so much, Cindy Bellino. If you missed any part of this interview, you can download the iHeartRadio app. It is free, and my interviews live on with the podcast Sunstein Sessions. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning on the Jim Kerr Rock and Roll Morning Show, Q104.3.
New York's classic rock, Q104.3.